A roaring mammoth freezes in absolute terror, its massive tusks trembling against the glacial wind. From the thick, suffocating prehistoric fog, a lone silhouette emerges. Wild beasts do not run from packs of wolves, nor do they flee from the sudden eruption of a volcano. They flee from this singular, silent shadow. This is the undisputed ruler of the ancient wilderness, a figure whispered about around every campfire, revered by clans across the frozen tundras and scorching savannas. The ultimate apex predator of the Pleistocene epoch. Every single expedition leads to a mountain of meat. Every track followed ends in a glorious feast. To the tribes, this entity is not human. This is a celestial force born with the instinct of blood and stone. The legends carved into the rock walls claim that the wind bends to conceal this hunter's scent, and the earth itself vibrates to drive prey directly into an unstoppable grip. But legends are often written by the survivors, and survivors have a terrible habit of exaggerating. Beneath the heavy furs and the terrifying reputation lies a reality so chaotic, so profoundly ridiculous, that if the prehistoric world possessed a concept of comedy, this individual would be the undisputed monarch of fools. The truth behind the god of hunting is not a tale of unmatched skill, but rather the most staggering, continuous chain of accidental survival in the history of evolution. To understand the sheer magnitude of the deception, one must look at the stories passed down through the tribal elders. The tapestries of ash and animal fat on cave walls depict a warrior of unparalleled grace. The myth of the saber-toothed whisperer. It is told that a massive, bloodthirsty saber-toothed cat once cornered the hunting party in a ravine. The god of hunting stepped forward, looked the beast in the eyes, and with a swift, invisible motion, brought the monster down without a single scratch. The Mammoth Stampede Miracle. Another tale claims that during a chaotic migration, a herd of enraged mammoths charged the encampment. Single-handedly, the legendary hunter stood in the path of destruction, causing the entire herd to veer off a cliffside to their demise, saving the tribe and providing food for 3 moons. The Eagle's Eye Spear. The hunters spoke in hushed, respectful tones about a spear thrown through a blinding blizzard, piercing the heart of a giant elk hiding deep within a dense thicket, completely out of sight. The tribe wept with gratitude. They offered the finest fur bedding. They gave the hunter the choice of the softest moss and the safest spot closest to the fire. The community genuinely believed that walking behind this magnificent figure meant walking under the protection of the spirits themselves. Now strip away the dramatic chanting of the elders and look closer at what actually happened in that misty ravine with the saber-toothed cat. The hunter was not stepping forward to protect the tribe with unmatched courage. The hunter had actually stepped on a deceptively sharp piece of flint, panicked, and lost all bodily control. Blinded by sudden agony, the hunter spun around wildly, flailing a heavy wooden club in absolute hysterics while trying to hop on one foot. The saber-toothed cat, an apex predator accustomed to calculated movements and predictable prey, had never witnessed a human turning into a fleshy, screaming whirlwind. Confused and deeply unsettled by this bizarre behavior, the cat attempted to leap backward to reassess the threat. In doing so, the beast misjudged the slippery edge of the ravine, tripped over its own massive paws, and knocked itself completely unconscious against a boulder. The hunter, still screaming and clutching the injured foot, fell directly on top of the stunned feline, accidentally driving a sharp bone dagger, which had simply slipped loose from a poorly tied waist belt, straight into the animal's weak spot. When the dust settled, the hunting party crept out from the bushes. They did not see a terrified, clumsy human crying over a stubbed toe. They saw their leader sitting victoriously atop the dreaded monster, weeping tears that they immediately interpreted as deep spiritual sorrow for the fallen beast. The spectacular delusion only escalated with the infamous Mammoth Stampede. The truth of that historic day involves zero tactical genius and a significant amount of severe gastrointestinal distress. The hunter had consumed a handful of highly questionable fermented wild berries the night before. Searching desperately for a secluded thicket far from the camp to relieve the incoming disaster, the hunter inadvertently walked directly into the bedding area of a sleeping mammoth herd. Startled by a sudden violent cramp, the hunter let out a high-pitched, agonizing shriek that sounded less like a human and more like a dying, mutated cave bear. The lead mammoth woke up in absolute panic. The entire herd, completely disoriented by the horrific, unnatural noise echoing through the valley, began to run blindly away from the sound. The hunter, realizing a wall of fur and tusks was now barreling forward, turned and ran for dear life. However, due to a profound lack of spatial awareness and the inability to see through tears of sheer terror, the hunter ran in completely the wrong direction, leading the mammoths directly toward the edge of the canyon. At the very last second, the hunter tripped over a low-hanging vine, rolling violently into a muddy ditch. The herd, possessed by collective panic and moving too fast to stop, plummeted over the precipice. The tribe arrived hours later to find their god covered in mud, trembling in what they assumed was a trance of divine exhaustion, surrounded by a lifetime supply of meat. How does one maintain such a reputation without getting eaten? The secret lies in the fact that the prehistoric world is incredibly dangerous, and sometimes being completely unpredictable is the ultimate survival mechanism. Take the legendary blind spear throw through the blizzard. The hunter was not targeting an elk. The hunter was actually trying to spear a stubborn piece of charred root out of the campfire, got annoyed when it wouldn't budge, swung the spear back in frustration, and completely lost the grip. The weapon flew backward, sailed through the air, cleared the camp wall, and by the sheer, terrifying mathematics of cosmic luck, found the exact coordinates of a passing giant elk's jugular vein. The universal rule of prehistoric luck: when skill fails, absolute, unfiltered chaos will occasionally simulate perfection. Every single hunting trip followed this exact, chaotic blueprint. The camouflage technique. The hunter was often praised for blending seamlessly into the brush. In reality, the hunter frequently fell asleep in deep piles of leaves after getting lost looking for the campsite. The tracking expertise. The tribe marveled at how the hunter could find water sources. The truth? The hunter routinely slipped on wet mud, sliding down hillsides directly into hidden riverbanks. The beast taming. Predators rarely attacked the hunter directly because the hunter's constant state of nervous twitching and erratic muttering made them look entirely diseased and unappetizing. The god of hunting eventually passed away peacefully, pampered to the very end on the softest furs the tribe could forage. The community wept bitterly, convinced they had lost a divine savior rather than a walking human disaster who had simply run out of luck. To honor the legend, the cave artists painted a towering silhouette, a warrior with a fearless heart and a strikingly dynamic, one-legged battle stance. The joke, however, remains etched in stone.